diving headfirst into Lubbock High athletics. You're listening to the Westerner Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Good Wednesday evening. Welcome into the High School Fan Zone for the second time this week. And before I forget, there will be no shows next week with all three big school districts on spring break. I was told that there will be no radio shows. There's going to be a lot of other stuff going on that I imagine you'll find on the radio, on Raymar airwaves, somewhere or another. I believe the NCAA tournament starts for the men next week, the women at some point, so there will be a lot of stuff to choose from, just not the Fan Zone next week. We'll be back on the 23rd and the 25th. So, Wednesday night, which means tonight we're going to talk to coaches from Lubbock High. Help me, Brennan. Lubbock High, Coronado, Friendship and Lubbock Cooper. I always have, it takes a while for the salad in my head to kind of settle down a little bit. This is a very diverse and intriguing show tonight. We're steering kind of off the beaten path a little bit. If you're watching on TV, we're going to start with a little bit of Lubbock High track. We're going to jump into Coronado basketball, girls basketball. Then Friendship is soccer. Tigers, the girls soccer team has won the district championship. They're headed for the playoffs. And then we're going to finish up with track with Devin Ramby, who I think is probably, you guys probably can appreciate this. I imagine Devin got home last Friday and probably didn't get out of bed until about Sunday afternoon, because the last couple of years I've talked to him, he told me about how just exhausting it is to put on a meet. And we were just talking about the Pirate Relays were a big meet, because I happened to go by there on the way out of town to a basketball playoff game, and couldn't see much of the parking lot. There was a lot of buses there. So I'm going to have coaches from the left introduce themselves, and then their two athletes, and we'll jump in and start talking about the Westerners.
I'm Hank Semler. I'm the boys head track coach at Lubbock High.
I'm Michael Sparks. I'm the girls head coach. This is Mia Elizondo and Sarah D.
And whenever I introduce Hank, you're like the Lubbock sports coach's version of the world's most interesting man. When we sat back there and talked that one time you were coming on, help me here. You help coach football,
yes,
head track coach, and you just kind of nonchalantly said, I coached soccer for 20 years.
Right.
Just dabbled a little bit of everything. Michael, what else have you coached? We better cross that off the list.
I've coached girls basketball.
Okay.
I did a little. Whenever I was a student teacher, I helped out with football and basketball. So boys basketball. So I've done boys basketball, girls basketball. One season of football. That was enough. And then track.
So you guys, you get to know these coaches in one sport, but they've got to kind of wear a lot of different hats. We were mentioning Devin Ramby, again, nonchalantly. I was doing some baseball stuff at the playoff time, and I was looking at the boards out at Lubbock Cooper, and there's Devin Ramby's name as an assistant baseball coach, and not just randomly, but I believe one of the years they went to the state tournament. So you guys, you don't have to throw your chest out, but what's the old saying about coaches? If you're a good coach, you can basically coach any sport. You know how to deal with young people, which I respect the heck out of, because I've got one of those at home myself. So I've got another Westerner at home who's, let's see, what year are these two?
They're both seniors.
So starting to think a little bit about graduation. We've got the robe sitting on our counter at home, and we've got senior pictures. So, but you guys have some track stuff to take care of first. So this last week you went to the Pirate Relays, which was a big event. I've got results posted on the website. This week's a little bit slower around town, but you guys go to one of the big ones. I know you're native Texan, correct? San Angelo Relays have been around for quite a while. For both you guys, I'll start with you, Hank. This thing is, like I said, for years and years, this was one of the events in West Texas. What are you looking for this weekend when you take your two crews down there?
Well, the San Angelo Relays, like you said, this is one of the big marquee events. So I believe this year we got close to it. Judging on the emails from San Angelo, I believe there's 67 teams that are going to be there. And so everything from 2A all the way up to 6A. And, track is unique in that it really doesn't matter what speed is speed, strength is, throws are throws, jumps are jumps. So, what we're really looking for is, our athletes finish up hopefully with everybody getting a PR, hopefully everybody, being the best version of themselves, as a competitive athlete and as a person.
You two grab the mic here real quick, or use whichever mic. Which events do you compete in, or will you compete in this weekend in San Angelo?
This week I'm competing in the 100-meter dash and the 200-meter dash.
And then I'm going to be competing in the 300 hurdles and the 4x4 relay.
So after distances, I always look at hurdles, the people that hurdle, and wonder if you're not a little bit crazy, because you've got those things in front of you.
Yeah.
If it were me, I'd be like, no, get those out of the way. I'd try to run. You've got to have a certain mentality to be a hurdler, period.
Yeah, for sure.
But to work on your craft. When did you start hurdling?
I actually started hurdling in 7th grade at Hutch because my coach kind of just threw me into it, and so I guess that my path was kind of chosen for me at that point because I haven't switched my events since. But I think I'm so used to it now that it's not so much of a problem for me anymore. But sometimes it's definitely a challenging race.
See, I was like you when I was younger. It was like, give me a starting line and a finish line. I'll go as fast as I can, and I'll be fine. So when did sprints become the thing that you kind of latched onto?
Whenever I was in 8th grade is when I began track, and that's when it's just always been sprints from then. Sprints and then field events.
What's the longest you like to run?
Not longer than 200. Even 200's pushing it sometimes.
So you and I are simpatico there because what's the bumper sticker say? If you see me running, you better look behind me because somebody's probably chasing me. So Michael, when Hank was talking about you guys, tracks, to use a cliche, a track running cliche, the track season is more marathon than a sprint because you're trying to build up to get to a certain point. You're a cross-country coach also. Is that kind of what you want your girls to do, is kind of gradually get to where you want them to be by district, region, and all that?
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that they can confirm is I tell them every single week is just a practice, and it's a practice to get ready for district. At the end of the day, it's great to get medals. It's nice to score up there at these meets, but whenever we get to district, none of that means anything. And so it's all about getting better just week after week.
Because starting this week's when we start to get to the point where is it the week after when we get into district, or is it 2 weeks down? 2 weeks.
Yes,
we start going a little bit
Lubbock
quicker.
Invitational.
All right, we're coming up on the break. We will be back on the High School Fan Zone on 100.7 Score. I'm Randy Rosetta. We'll be back.
Your inside look into Lubbock High sports. This is the Westerner Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back in. This is the High School Fan Zone. We're in the Westerner Fan Zone talking, I have to make sure I say correct, track and field. Field people don't like to be left out, and as we found out, at least one of these girls does a little bit more than run. So let's go back. Besides the 2 sprints, what are you doing this weekend?
I also long jump. I'm long jumping this weekend, and then sometimes I'll triple jump as well.
And I've always been intrigued. I didn't run. I was a baseball player, so when I got to spring, I was focused on that. But it always intrigued me how the sprints and those kind of go hand in hand. How does one help you? How do sprints help you in the jumps, or vice versa?
Speed definitely does help you in jumping. The faster you're going, the more able you're to the power to take off and land in the pit. You get farther. And jumping, I don't know how jumping helps running. I don't think. But I know for sure speed does help in jumping.
I'm going to guess you need pretty powerful legs for both.
Yes, it's a lot on your shins, so definitely ankle mobility, things like that.
And speaking of shins, those dang hurdles aren't in the way.
Yeah.
But Sarah has not been bothered by them, because what else did you not tell me there? That you have to talk about yourself a little bit here. So Coach kind of told a secret on you there. What? Who holds the school records in the 2 hurdle events at Lubbock High?
I hold them currently right now.
Do you remember what your times were?
I think in the 100 it was like 15 flat or something like that.
1509.
Yeah, and then 300s was like 46. Something like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Coach Sparks is the young pup of us 3. I'm older than Coach, but when an old coach is talking about how good you are in track and field, that catches my attention, because he's probably seen a few, especially where I know he's coached. He's probably seen a few athletes those two events in particular, I asked you what got you started. Tell me what a normal practice week is like. How many times are you getting over those nuisances?
Wow, that's an interesting term to call them. Usually during the week, I do both like the regular, like Sparks likes to call them quarter mile workouts because he believes everyone's a quarter miler.
He's a track coach.
Yeah. And so I will usually go do hurdles Mondays and Wednesdays and work specifically on them with my separate coach. And then I will then do like at least half the workout on those days as well, along with that hurdles workout. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays are usually more heavy on endurance and making sure that my technique and just my regular running events are good.
So do you do any field events also?
I do not do field events.
See, in my head, it would make more sense if you're a hurdler, that the jumps would go hand in hand. Now, has Coach ever tried to get you to run longer than 200 if he's a big believer in the quarter mile?
He is. If I'm there, he'll stick me in that 4x4 relay we had that happen our first meet. I asked what's for dinner. Ended up being in the 4x4.
That's what you get for getting hungry. Now, both you guys, the quarter miler is supposed to be the purest of races, correct? Mm-hmm. Explain that. Why is that?
Really, I got the philosophy from Coach Houston. He was the head coach.
At Estacado for years, correct?
He was at Estacado. He was at 50th Street whenever I was working for him. And it was one of those things that's what he told me. He said, we don't have sprinters in our program. And I was confused because, like I said, it was the first year I was working with him. I said, what do you mean? How do we not have sprinters? He said, we have quarter milers. If you can run the 400, you can run the 2, you can run the 1, 4x4, 4x2, 4x1. You are way more versatile. We can use you in way more spots. And I loved it. I saw the way the girls bought into it. And whenever I came to the Lubbock High School, that was the first thing I told them. We don't have sprinters anymore. We have quarter milers. And just kind of taking off from there. And they understand that is the expectation.
And I could process that a little bit, because if you could sprint for that distance, then the shorter distances should be easier. But I'm still like, to get to that 200 meters, I was like, no, that's it for me. So, Hank, you get to Lubbock High 4 years ago? How many years ago?
5 years.
5 years ago. So this is, we've all talked about this one time or another. Sometimes in team sports, it's tough at Lubbock High to be as competitive. But
sure.
What you guys do with track, that's a little bit different. It's a team sport, but it's a lot of individuals within that. What have you seen about Lubbock High athletes that makes them so competitive? Because we talked about what they do academically. Kids at Lubbock High are used to pushing themselves. How does that translate into track and field?
Well, the biggest thing that I see in track and field is that, it's really the family aspect where boys, and it doesn't matter boys or girls, everybody's cheering for everybody. I mean, you would be very hard pressed to go to a single event at a track meet, and if there's a Lubbock High kid, whether if it's male or female, if there's a Lubbock High kid competing, then there's usually 3 or 4, upwards of, it just depends. There may be 10, 15 of their teammates, boys and girls around cheering them on, and the other thing that I really noticed and love about our track program is the kids are some of the best assistant coaches.
Yes, I've noticed that.
I mean, it's, like Sarah really helps out with, Sarah helps the other hurdlers. She'll see something that the assistant coach won't see, and hey, you need to do this, you need to do, and they respond to each other so well. I've never heard an argument between two of our athletes over who's right and who's wrong, and how an event should be done, how technique should be handled, or anything like that. And I think that's what really makes our track program unique.
Well, there's a lot of unique things about Lubbock High. We'll get you guys on again when we get down into the meat of the season. We'll come back after this break, talk a little bit of Coronado girls basketball on the High School Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.